Good morning, everybody. It is Weather with Sim again. I hope you guys are all having a great day. It is almost New Year's Eve, and the worst of the system hasn't came to the Ohio Valley quite yet. At least it's not in the Ohio Valley quite yet, and we're going to be talking about that. In this worst of the system will likely impact places like Indiana, getting into Illinois, even Ohio, even as far down south as Alabama and Georgia. They could see their first snowflakes today, and that will be kind of record breaking, I would say. So we'll have to see about that. But first of all, we're going to go ahead and show you guys the radar, and as you guys can probably see, it's a little glitchy, but as you guys can probably see, as of right now, we are seeing a pretty good snowfall across Indiana, getting into Illinois, but even back through places like Missouri. But as we continue to take that forward, that system will head out quickly, pretty much before the evening today. And then we got another system coming through that will bring a lot of snowfall. And like I said, this is going to be the worst of the system that's going to be coming today. And as you guys can probably see, it even brings a lot more heavier snowfall to places like Illinois and Indiana. So this is something to really watch closely for, and then as we continue to take that forward, that system will continue moving up the east coast, but it will be like very, very light snow as it does move up. But look over here in the places like Georgia and even northern Alabama. Like I said, they could see their first snowflakes of the season. It might even be record breaking in some areas, which I don't think it will. And there wasn't even expecting to be any accumulation in this area, but it's still something to really watch for, even though there isn't going to be any accumulation. And we'll talk about that as we look at the total snowfall, and we're going to go ahead and talk about that. And as you guys can probably see, as we do look at the total snowfall, looking pretty active across Indiana, Illinois, getting into Missouri, even includes eastern Iowa. But look down here in the places like Tennessee, even eastern Kentucky, seeing a pretty good amount of snowfall. Anywhere from 1 to 2 inches is what we could expect. But look here in northern Alabama and northern Georgia, the GFS model is showing 2 inches of snowfall in that area. So I mean, we'll have to watch that area very closely. I do not expect any accumulation in this area, like I said, but even though the GFS model is showing accumulation, we still don't expect any accumulation, and neither does the National Weather Service expect accumulation. But even look back here in the places like Oklahoma and Texas, some pretty good snowfall there. And before I forget, I do want to let you guys know that this is anywhere from today to January 3rd, okay? So I'm just letting you guys know that it heads out to January 3rd. So, and I mean, January 3rd is only 5 days out. And I mean, that's a pretty close storm system rolling through Texas and Oklahoma. But even back here in the places like the California mountains, getting in the Cascade Mountains, they could get some pretty good snowfall too as well. And it will definitely be something to watch for. And even back in the places like New England could get some pretty good snowfall. Now, we're going to look at your travel impacts that go anywhere from now into the weekend, and that will be for Saturday. Today and even tomorrow is when we can expect some pretty good travel impacts across the Rocky Mountains. But even back here in the places like West Virginia, getting into New England is when you can really expect some minor to almost some moderate impacts across those areas. But even back here into the Rocky Mountains, we are seeing some pretty good impacts too as well. But look over here across like Illinois, Indiana. I mean, there is a few isolated minor impacts, like I said, but I mean, we don't expect there to be significant impacts, okay? They're more limited. So there won't be no travel impacts. There will definitely be some travel impacts, but they're more going to be on the limited side, okay? So that just indicates drive safely and just be cautious, okay? But there shouldn't be anything of an emergency, okay? But as we do take a look at the CMC model, I want to show you guys this again. Things haven't really changed recently. It has been showing quite a bit of the same thing. And as you guys can probably see, the CMC model is showing that system playing out about the same, where it affects places like Illinois, Indiana, and Missouri, but even back down here into places like even Kentucky and even Tennessee is the places where it impacts too, as well. As you guys can probably see, seeing some pretty widespread snowfall across these areas. So, I mean, the CMC model actually doesn't show very much in the way of snowflakes down here, besides maybe a little isolated snow shower or two could be possible. But other than that, not really expecting much in the way of snowfall, like I said, down here for places like northern Georgia and northern Alabama. But as we continue to take that forward with the CMC model, that will finally head out of the Ohio Valley as we get into December 30th, and it will pretty much head out into New England and head out into Atlantic. But even this next storm system up here to the north might be able to bring a little bit of light to maybe some moderate snowfall. So I mean, the CMC model doesn't exactly show the same things as the GFS model, but I mean, it's showing much more in the way of snowfall. And look, even over here into places like Kansas, getting down into Oklahoma, could see some snowfall. And I mean, even Amarillo too. And that will be as we get into January 6th. Now, as we do take a look at the total snowfall with the CMC model, like I said, we will see some pretty active snowfall with the system. I think, 'cause I mean, not only is the GFS model and the CMC model showing more in the way of snowfall, but I mean, the National Weather Service does not expect much in the way of accumulation. But the models do expect accumulation, so I would probably say it's a 50-50 chance to if we see accumulation or not. But even back down here in the places like it looks like some of some of northern Alabama and Georgia could get some pretty good snowflakes, like I said. I didn't see any of that really occur down there, but the CMC model thinks that on the total snowfall. But even back here in the Missouri, Iowa, even getting to Wisconsin, all of Illinois, and even most of Indiana, getting anywhere from a tenth to pretty much a half a foot of snow, but mainly 3 inches of snow is what we can expect from most of these areas. Now, we're going to go ahead and look at the Weather Prediction Center outlook, and as you guys can probably see, for today, which is December 28th, as you guys can probably see, we could see some snow falling around in places like Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma, and we even saw some of that snowfall with the GFS model and the CMC model as well. But even back here into the Ohio Valley and as well as the Midwest, we actually are seeing a chance for mixed precipitation. And then as you head farther up northeast into the New England area, getting into Maine, we could see some rain. But even up here into Maine, we could see mixed precipitation as well as freezing rain. So something to watch closely for if you do live in Maine, especially the northern part. But I mean, we still have to really watch the system closely because we really don't know how much accumulation there could be across these areas right here, okay? But now, we're going to go ahead and look at tomorrow, which is Friday, and as you guys can probably see, freezing rain chances do head a little bit farther north, but still includes the same areas. The mixed precipitation looks like it does get a little bit more widespread, and like I said, even the Weather Prediction Center surface maps are showing that places like northern Georgia, getting into northern Alabama, could get some mixed precipitation and as well as a snow shower or two across that area. So I mean, models and even the surface maps have been showing these areas in northern Alabama and northern Georgia getting snowfall. So I think there's a pretty good chance that we see a snow shower today. but we still have to watch that closely, and as well as tomorrow. So, I mean, we'll have to watch today and tomorrow, especially tomorrow, okay? So just keep that in mind if you do live in northern Georgia and northern Alabama. But if we look at Saturday, okay, that shifts off east, almost includes northern Georgia, but just very shy of it, okay? But this head that's far down south as pretty much eastern Tennessee, and as well as the North Carolina mountains, getting all the way up into places of Maine. So definitely something to be aware about, but still, we still have to watch these systems closely, and I do not expect them to play out the same as the models were showing. Now, we're going to go ahead and show you guys your temperatures, and as you guys can probably see, as of right now, temperatures are looking pretty cold across these areas. We're seeing some 30s, some 40s, and as well as some 50s down here to the southeast. But as we continue to take that forward, we'll start to see those warm-ups head out, and we'll start to see cold air move in, as you guys can probably see. And, I mean, it's just looking like we could see more in the way of cold there. Look, only highs in the 40s, only highs in the 50s. Like, isn't that just crazy? We could even be talking about some freeze warnings possibly across some of these areas that haven't seen their first freeze yet. And that's something to talk about too as well. But as we continue to take that forward, we will start to see more in the way of warm-ups too as well across portions of the south. Or the southern United States rather, and as we continue to take that forward, we will see freezing air move through places like the Ohio Valley, and I'll go back so you guys can see that. But as we also continue to take that forward again, we start to see some pretty good cool downs move through, and it does include the Plains, Midwest, Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and New England, and I didn't mean to do that. I don't know what just happened, but anyway, as we continue to take that forward, we will start to see some warm-ups in the 40s and stuff. But I mean, it's just gonna continue to stay cold for a pretty long time, guys. I mean, we'll see if we get more significant cool downs, but as you guys can probably see, I'm a little bit over halfway there before it ends. But as we continue to take this far, I'll just go ahead and quickly show you guys the rest. And as you guys can probably see, we just start to see warm-ups and cool downs occasionally. Wow, that looks like a pretty big warm-up right there, but not as significant as the one we had. I think it was last weekend is when we had that significant warm-up in the 60s across the Ohio Valley. But as we continue to take that forward, as you guys can probably see, wow. Okay, wow, look at that, guys. Significant cold air moves through, bringing lots of low temperatures to these areas. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, the GFS model is crazy, okay? Especially if you go all the way to the end of, like, the radar, the total snowfall, and as well as the temperatures, you'll start to see something crazy happen at the end of it. And this is mainly with the GFS model. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, the European model is the best model to use. It's also the model that gets, I'm just going to say it's probably the model that gets most of the things right. But, I mean, still, it's something to, like, really be aware about and even watch for closely, even though I'm using the GFS model for these things. But that's mainly because it heads out far, but I mean, something to still be aware about, okay? Even though I'm using, like, the model that kind of get some of the things wrong quite a bit, still something to watch closely for, because the GFS model still gets quite a bit of things right. Now, thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys did enjoy my video. Like I said, I'm finally back to give you guys more updates on how this weather is looking. I will do my January forecast pretty soon, pretty much in the next couple of days is when we will expect to do my January forecast, so stay tuned for that. But thank you guys very much for watching, and I will do one tomorrow.